What's good, folks? This is your man Quad B, aka Bamboozle Black Baby Boomer, aka Leroy, coming at you on Saturday, September. Let's see, what's the date here? September 22nd of 2018. I'm coming at you from a popular gathering spot in Virginia on the banks of the west bank of the Potomac River known as Gravelly Point. Used to come here back when I was in my 20s, when I came down here in the 80s after I'd get off of work at midnight. I'm sorry, not midnight, noon. I used to work a 3 a.m. to noon shift. Instead of going home, I would come here and watch the planes take off and land. Why? Because this area is also north of the main runway of Ronald Reagan National Airport. And of course, Ronald Reagan was president when I was here in the 80s. And this is one of three airports that served as what's known as the DMV, District, Maryland, Virginia. The other two being, of course, BWI, Baltimore Washington International Marshall Airport, named for Thurgood Marshall, first black Supreme Court justice, and the other airport, of course, which is near where I live currently, out in western Fairfax County on the Loudoun County line, which would be Dulles International Airport. And Dulles, I believe, is named for someone named John Foster Dulles. I can't remember. I think he was a cabinet secretary for Kennedy. I'd have to look that up. I can't remember. But anyway, this is a popular gathering spot where people picnic, play ball. You had some kids playing football behind me, and of course there's the Potomac River behind me. And oh, see, I got somebody watching. Great, because for a while I kept having my stuff set on unlisted, and I was wondering why nobody was watching. But anyway, one of the things, of course, I like to do was when I came here was to watch the planes take off and land while listening to a little radio that I had that picked up aircraft to tower transmissions. It was pretty cool. And as I said, I am at the this is an area north of the main runway, north of the main runway of the airport, and we have and right now we see a plane. Actually, a plane just landed. So, depending on the weather conditions, of course, the planes could either be taking off over us or landing over us. But the reason I wanted to come on here was I had to do some business in D.C. And I found it kind of frustrating that, you know, when you're driving around DC, you really got to keep an eye out for people, for tourists and all that. And the biggest thing that pissed me off today was I get a green light, I'm going across, and here comes somebody jaywalking across the street with his headphones in his ear, not paying attention, and I could have hit his ass if I wasn't paying attention. And yet, if I know pedestrians have the right of way, but if they make a mistake and you're a motorist and you hit them, you're responsible for whatever the frick happens to them. So, and then the other thing I noticed when I was commuting to DC on the metro, too many people with their heads buried in their freaking smartphones. I could walk up behind anybody, knock them upside their head, take their shit, and run. But of course, I wouldn't get too far because there are probably all kinds of security cameras. But you got a lot of people here in this area, who don't pay attention to their surroundings. And I'm just coming on live just to remind you guys, if you come to DC or any other city, I know you're like enthralled by being, here in the nation's capital. Hey, cats, what's going on? I know you're enthralled by being here in the nation's capital and whatnot, but pay attention to what's going on around you. You got plenty of time to look at your friggin' smartphones or text or whatever, especially if you're on the metro. I hate seeing people on the platform standing a foot from the platform with their heads buried in their phones. Somebody could some crazy mug could just push you and in front of a train or some crap like that. And that's been known to happen, especially up in New York. And again, you never know what happened to you. You never see it coming. So just be careful, man. Be careful out here. This world's crazy, man. Everybody, majority of human beings are, nice people, wouldn't bother a fly, but you got some crazies out here. Oh, I see a plane getting ready to take off at the end of the runway. Matter of fact, it's doing its takeoff run. Let me flip the screen. And we got some folks playing soccer, and here it is. Don't know where it's going. Not sure what airline. It looks like a 737. And the funny thing about it is, and the funny thing about flying out of Reagan National, these planes have to hug the Potomac really tightly because over there, over there, D.C., you see, the Washington Monument over there, that's controlled airspace, and even a commercial jet, if it wanders over there, you end up having some military planes scrambled to chase your ass out. And they have to really hug the Potomac on their way out of here. Same on the way in, because, federal government's like that. Now I see another plane that looks like it belongs to Southwest because I can see the tail. I can see the tail, the colors. So let's take a look at this one. Let's move a little closer. Well, I'm glad the reception seems to be a little better here. The last time I was out here trying to do some stuff online, and that was a couple of years ago, the reception was pretty bad. But let's take a look, and we see another one. We see another plane getting ready to leave and fly over us, and there it is. Yep, looks like Southwest Airlines. But isn't that pretty cool, man? I used to love coming out here. I was out here almost every day, weather permitting, of course. I was out here almost every day. But I was out and about, and I decided, you know what? I'd like to just come to Gravelly Point because, as I may have told you, my days here in the D.C. area might be numbered just because, just circumstances and life, man. And heading back to the Philly area, so it'll be okay. But DC was good to me for a while, although some of these companies I work for rely on the government, and the government ain't the customer that it used to be, unless of course you're working for the Defense Department and you're one of those big ass companies like Raytheon or Lockheed or Boeing or one of them, General Dynamics. Yeah, those companies. If the federal government disappeared tomorrow, I think those companies would probably disappear too. No, they probably wouldn't. They just probably step in and take over the role of the government themselves, because that's how they think. come to think of it, the private sector's doing its level best to try to buy the public sector, but you know, it's my good friend Don Calypso once said, public, private, left, right, you know, Democrat, Republican, two cheeks on the same ass. Two cheeks on the same ass. Just depends on which cheek do you want to feel the most. you know. Um, but yeah, I just figured I'd come live because every now and then it gets kind of boring coming at you live, just sitting in my cluttered dining room with a green screen behind me. So right now, like I said, I'm at the end of the. Let's see. Let me see if I can show you the runway. No, what? Come on. Okay. Can't. No. Ooh. Bad. So cats. You see, bad, huh? I tried to zoom in. It didn't quite work. Trying to go live with these cell phone, smartphone cameras ain't the easiest. But hey, Kat, so what are you up to? It was funny. I was on the chat on the BGS for Women's Hangout last night, and every time think about you, and you being from Louisiana, I always think about the snap cards called Louisiana Purchase cards. On one hand, it's clever. On another hand, it's kind of like backhanded. Of course, as y'all know, if you students of American history know, the Louisiana Purchase was sold. There was a whole bunch of land sold by France to the U.S. Ooh, I'm down to 15%. So, and it was sold. It was sold by France to the U.S., doubling the U.S. landmass all the way to the Mississippi and River, and a big part of the reason that the French sold that land was because the Haitian slaves kind of kicked the French's asses in Haiti, and and that's partly why the Americans who heard about it clamped down on the American slaves so hard, because they didn't want the same thing happening in the United States, you know. And so just a little tidbit of history there for you, because that's what I do. I do history. You know, history is best taught to folks over 40, I believe. Teenagers don't have trying to teach teenagers history in high school, I think, is a fool's errand. Most teenagers don't give a shit about what happened the year preceding their birth. Like, for example, my son was born in 2000. Any year beginning with 19 is ancient history to him. So, and you don't really get an appreciation of history until you're much older, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's you see. I talk about historical perspective a whole lot, and sometimes, when you look at what black people been through in the United States, you got to have a really long perspective. And the first slaves showed up on American soil at Jamestown, Virginia in 1619. Next year will mark 400 years since that ignominious event. So, just something to think about. But anyway, I'm gonna get off of here because my phone's dying. I'm already at 15%, and I have a Samsung S9, and the battery actually is pretty good. It lasts pretty long, but I've been out all day, and I forgot to charge my phone while I was in the car. So if you're watching, great, thank you very much. Let me see, is there another plane? Maybe we'll show you guys another plane. Is it taking off or landing? Let's see. No, one just landed. Let me see if I can show it to you. One just landed but and that looks like a Frontier Airlines jet from where I can see. Okay, now we have one that looks like it's carrying the colors of Delta Airlines. If you're in Atlanta, you know that Delta pretty much owns the Atlanta area aviation market. And you got one getting ready at the air at the runway, getting ready for its takeoff run. So let's watch this one. You probably can't. I can't see it too well on this screen, but I can see it with my eyes. So lights are on, and it's making that run, and